The drone revolution. What is the drone revolution? According to Ukrainian estimates, in 2025, more than 70% of combat losses on both sides of the front line are caused by drones. But this is only the most visible illustration of what is now called the drone revolution. In at least one specific war, drones have not only replaced other weapons, they have also transformed tactics, operational art, and even the overall strategy of warfare. One of the clearest explanations of this transformation, using the war between Russia and Ukraine as a real-world example, was offered by Ruslan Pukov, director of the Center for Analysis of Strategies and Technologies, and an expert close to Russia's Ministry of Defense. Many Western analysts and military professionals agree with his conclusions. According to Pukov, drones, equipped with sensors, have become the tip of a massive communication system that transmits huge volumes of data, including live video, to many different users in real time. Thanks to this system, the classical fog of war between battlefield sensors and command structures has largely disappeared. For thousands of years, this fog shaped warfare. Great commanders were praised for their ability to guess the enemy's intentions without truly knowing them. Today, thousands of drones above the battlefield and rear areas detect almost everything and report it to commanders instantly. The next logical step was to arm drones with weapons so they could strike immediately after detecting a target, reducing the gap between reconnaissance and destruction to zero. Even relatively weak armies now possess intelligence tools and millions of units of precision weapons. In the near future, commanders at every level may simply choose how to destroy any target they see. Whatever is detected will be destroyed instantly. In some sectors of the front, this is already reality. In Ukraine today, it is virtually impossible to concentrate forces or equipment within 10 to 15 kilometers of the front. For centuries, massing forces was considered the foundation of operational warfare. Now it has been replaced by camouflage and dispersion of troops, command posts, supply depots, and ammunition storage sites. Mechanized breakthroughs deep into enemy defenses, once the core of modern warfare, are no longer possible unless one side achieves absolute drone supremacy over both the front line and the rear. Drones have already conquered the sky, at least at low altitudes. They threaten naval forces at sea and may soon become the backbone of ground operations. Integration with artificial intelligence, satellite reconnaissance, and satellite communications will allow drones to strike targets at almost any depth. Anyone who wants to win future wars must first defeat the enemy's drones and establish dominance with their own. Just 3 years ago, this would all have sounded like science fiction. Now, it appears grounded in reality. In Ukraine, a version of this revolution has already taken place. Troop concentrations became impossible largely due to reconnaissance drones and loitering munitions. A battlefield without people. The front line has become almost deserted. Where companies and even battalions once fought, now small groups of 2 to 5 soldiers, sometimes on motorcycles, operate instead. These attack teams attempt to slip behind enemy lines, entrench themselves there, and gradually build up presence. Resupply is increasingly done by drones as well. Meanwhile, dozens or hundreds of drone operators work in the rear, burning everything that moves within a range of 10 to 15 kilometers, and recently, up to 30 kilometers, as signal relay drones have spread. Why this is not a final revolution. Despite these changes, the idea of an irreversible revolution is still premature. Aside from drones and communication systems, both armies remain surprisingly weak in many traditional areas. Russia's aerospace forces have only a few hundred modern aircraft, used far less intensively than Western aviation was in Iraq or Yugoslavia decades ago. Because Ukraine's air defense has not been suppressed, Russian aircraft operate from long distances, launching glide bombs and a limited number of cruise and air-launched ballistic missiles. Ukraine's aviation situation is even worse. Fewer than 30 Western-made aircraft are in service, and in total fewer than 100 jets and bombers remain operational. Combat losses and technical wear have taken a heavy toll. Artillery, the main killing tool until 2024, has depleted enormous global stockpiles of shells. Production simply cannot keep up with consumption. As a result, many fire missions have been transferred to drones. Drones are extremely precise, sometimes the most accurate weapons available. Fiber optic guided drones can literally fly through windows or into armored vehicles, allowing operators to choose targets inside. But they are not magically effective. Both sides claim to produce millions of drones per year, yet they do not destroy millions of targets. The probability of a drone actually hitting a human target may still be under 10%. Troops are now dependent on drone operators. A Western volunteer once described how helpless Ukrainian soldiers became without drone support. The promised revolution in artificial intelligence has not happened yet. Autonomous drone swarms remain largely theoretical. Each drone still requires a human operator, and tens of thousands of operators are a luxury that neither side can easily afford. The drone war became possible because civilian technologies were cheap, available, and quickly adopted by the military. Most drones are assembled from Chinese components. Satellite communications are provided by private companies, and Russian forces use illegal access to some Western terminals. As long as global trade exists, stopping this technology spread is impossible. Despite millions of drones, the fog of war has not disappeared completely. Reinforcements still arrive undetected, creating stalemates. And despite areas of drone superiority, Ukraine is not winning this war. More traditional advantages, manpower, artillery, and air power, remain strategically decisive. NATO and the future of drones. NATO currently lags behind both Ukraine and Russia in drone warfare. At any time, it could try to produce millions of small drones. Influential figures in the West, from Elon Musk to Eric Schmidt, argue that the future belongs to drones, not expensive aircraft programs. More cautious analysts disagree. Justin Bronk of the Royal United Services Institute explains, Ukraine and Russia have not shown that mass drone use brings victory. Instead, they created drone dependency in infantry units. The West still dominates in manned aviation. U.S. Air Forces specialize in suppressing enemy air defenses. Once air defenses are destroyed, NATO aircraft could strike freely with relatively cheap weapons like JDAM guided bombs, cheaper even than many drones. Heavy drones may become useful again once air defenses are suppressed. NATO doesn't need millions of small drones. Russia already leads in that race and also in counter-drone technology. Against Western air forces, Russia's prospects remain limited. But two problems remain. First, Europe alone cannot defeat Russian air defense systems. Second, neither Europe nor the U.S. has a mature defense system against mass drone attacks, something demonstrated clearly during drone incidents in Poland. So, Was there a revolution? Not exactly. It would be more accurate to call it a democratization of technology. Capabilities once available only to the richest nations, surveillance, communications, and precision firepower, are now widely accessible. Initially, the democratic drone was expected to be a medium-altitude aircraft like the Bayraktar or Winglung. But air defense changed the equation. Today, cheap FPV drones and long-range kamikaze UAVs dominate. Their weaknesses, limited range, small payloads, vulnerability to jamming, are compensated by tactics and sheer numbers. This is not the final form of warfare. Other drone types still matter, especially in conflicts where air defense is weak. And drones will evolve just as counter-drone systems will. The rapid transformation started in late 2022, when quadcopters flooded the battlefield and unmanned boats ruled the Black Sea. Both sides now rely on drones as their main weapon, and they are rapidly developing automation and ground robots to supply them. The future of drones belongs to skilled operators far from the front, and robots that bring drones to the battlefield instead of people. What drones really changed? Drones are cheap, accessible weapons that require minimal training. They are mass-produced and disposable. This reduces the role of the infantry soldier. FPV drones first destroyed tanks and artillery, then they attacked fortifications. Today, they even hunt individual soldiers. They have partly replaced anti-tank missiles, artillery, machine guns, and snipers. Remote turrets never became widespread. FPV drones made them unnecessary. Air power without airplanes. Because Ukraine lacks aircraft, drones replaced helicopters and attack planes. As scouts, UAVs almost fully replaced piloted reconnaissance aircraft. They spot targets, guide artillery, and assess damage. Drone kamikazes have also replaced cruise missiles to some degree. Though slower and easier to intercept, they are cheap and can be produced in enormous numbers. Now even jet-powered kamikaze drones are being developed, moving ever closer to real cruise missiles at a fraction of the cost. Agricultural drones were converted into bombers, mine layers, and cargo carriers. They became the universal machines of modern war. Drones and air defense. Drones now hunt other drones. Some intercept by crashing into targets, others fire nets, and some even carry guns. FPV drones now shoot down reconnaissance UAVs, bombers, and even helicopters. Recently, FPV drones destroyed long-range kamikaze drones like the Russian Lancet. This may force high-altitude operation, but then interception would require expensive missiles instead. Conclusions. War accelerates progress at a terrible price. Compare today's battlefield to wars just 5 years ago, and the difference is enormous. We are witnessing a transformation in tactics, and soon in strategy itself. Yet many institutions still operate in denial, creating weapons and doctrines already outdated. What is needed now is a systematic approach, design, deployment, and immediate feedback between engineers and frontline operators. Only then can technology keep pace with reality. Given Russia's advantage in the number of artillery pieces and the ammunition for them, some argue it might be beneficial to completely jam GPS and communications along the front line. About 20 years ago, North Korea conducted test jamming of GPS and cellular networks in the border area with South Korea. As a result, Incheon International Airport near Seoul had to be temporarily shut down, and South Korea filed a complaint with ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization. After that, North Korea stopped the tests. In other words, technically this is possible. Small jammers with a range of 10 to 15 meters can be bought online for relatively little money. During recent exercises, US and South Korean forces practiced air-launched missile strikes against GPS and communications jamming stations because their militaries rely heavily on GPS-guided missiles and bombs. Since the enemy can use anti-radiation missiles, such as the AGM-88 HARM, high-speed anti-radiation missile, to destroy GPS and communications jamming stations, it might make sense to switch those jammers on only for short periods of time in specific offensive sectors. There is video showing soldiers on motorcycles racing through dangerous stretches of road to avoid being hit by Ukrainian FPV drones. Western countries have announced plans to increase deliveries of drones and their components to make up for shortages of shells and missiles. These drones are assembled in tens of thousands of locations, often in residential buildings. It is physically impossible to destroy that many sites, and they are, by definition, civilian objects. Foreign components usually mean engines and electronics. The airframe itself can be glued together from wood and covered with water-repellent, high-strength synthetic fabric. Furniture fittings factories can manufacture many of the structural parts. Over modern battlefields, there is no longer a cloud of smoke from roaring tank engines, and no daring biplanes circling above. Today, different winged visitors dominate the sky. Unmanned aerial vehicles or drones, with an enormous variety of types and characteristics. They are no longer just tools of reconnaissance. They have become weapons that change our very understanding of war. They rise silently into the air like ghosts and quickly appear at the center of events. These are not just machines. They are a kind of digital vanguard, where engineering and human ingenuity have turned into an elusive force. Russia's aggression against Ukraine, unfolding in Eastern Europe, has become a kind of testing ground where many different reconnaissance and combat drones are used. The list is very long. The interaction between humans and machines in this war is redefining the principles of combat. From pinpoint strikes to entire swarms capable of monitoring large areas. Each drone has its own role, like a chess piece on the board, from the modest pawn scout to the queen striker. But what are these drones exactly? And why have they become the symbol of high-tech warfare? In this article, we'll look at the range of drones used in the Russian-Ukrainian war, their missions, and their impact on the force of combat. You may be surprised by how far modern technology has advanced and how important it has become in global conflicts. In any military conflict, information is power. In the war between Russia and Ukraine, reconnaissance drones have become an indispensable tool for gathering real-time data. These compact devices rise into the sky to quietly hover over battlefields, cities, and enemy fortifications. Their main tasks are to track troop movements, identify defensive positions, and adjust artillery fire. Both Russia and Ukraine use a mix of systems, ranging from commercial models, such as the DJI Mavic, to specialized military drones, like the Russian Orlan 10 or the Ukrainian Leleka 100. Commercial drones are often modified in improvised workshops, with added thermal imagers, extra cameras, and even improvised explosive devices. Specialized military models, in turn, provide more stable communications and can operate under intense electronic warfare. Commercial platforms like the DJI Mavic and Autel Evo also play a significant role. They are adapted for combat missions, including dropping small munitions or delivering supplies. Among the better-known military drones are the Turkish Bayraktar TB2 systems. For reconnaissance, the Ukrainian armed forces increasingly rely on their own designs. Ukrainian drones, such as the Lelika 100 and Furia, help locate enemy positions and correct artillery fire. A separate category consists of loitering munitions, like the American Switchblade, supplied as part of Western military aid. These kamikaze drones can strike targets with high precision while minimizing risk to personnel. The combination of flexibility, rapid technical upgrades, and international support has turned unmanned systems into one of the key components of Ukraine's military capability. Drones have radically changed modern warfare, adding precision and high-tech control. They make it possible to conduct reconnaissance and strike targets without putting operators directly at risk. Reconnaissance variants provide instant information about the enemy, while strike and kamikaze drones deliver pinpoint blows that reduce the consumption of traditional munitions. Their mass use reduces the importance of sheer numerical superiority in troops and equipment. Technology becomes the key factor in success. Unmanned aerial vehicles are redefining the strategy of modern war and opening a new era in armed conflict. They are being equipped with electronic vision systems and are learning how to bypass air defenses and overcome electronic warfare barriers. Finally, Ukraine's leadership has placed its hopes on what is known as the drone line, the attempt to create a continuous dead zone using kamikaze drones along the entire front line, extending up to 30 kilometers deep. Who has more? At the start of the conflict, Ukraine's armed forces clearly had the upper hand in drone capabilities, thanks to Western support and their own domestic developments. But the situation is changing. Since last year, Western media and analysts have reported that Russia is catching up in overall drone numbers and has already taken the lead in some categories. Unfortunately, open-source information is too contradictory to allow for definitive conclusions. In April of this year, at a meeting of the Military-Industrial Commission, President Vladimir Putin stated that in 2024 alone, more than 1.5 million drones of various types were delivered to the Russian military. He also reported that around 4,000 FPV drones were being sent to the front line every day. FPV stands for First-Person View. These are relatively inexpensive kamikaze drones based on racing quadcopters and controlled through virtual reality or pilot goggles, allowing the operator to see exactly what the drone sees. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.